I invite you to take a nice, big, deep breath in. And take a moment to become present with us as we share these healing vibrations.
Welcome to another presentation of our Sound Healing Conference. Today we've got Wayne Perry. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, David.
What have you been up to lately?
Well, mostly sound, light, and love and spirit.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, Wayne is a leading authority on sound therapy and acclaimed sound healer. He is the founder and director of the Sound Therapy Center of Los Angeles, established in 1992, which was the first facility of its kind in California to offer vibrational healing services, sound therapy workshops, voice analysis, vocal training, toning training, and sound therapy products. For over 25 years, Wayne has traveled the globe sharing his unique vision and wisdom in presentations at leading health and wellness conferences. In 2007, his groundbreaking book, Sound Medicine, was published by the New Page Books for international distribution. Welcome, welcome. So,
Thank
here's
you.
the big question we ask everybody, and that is if you had all the money in the world, what would you do to help people?
Well, I'd be doing the same service and work that I love and that I'm doing now. I guess if I had all the money, it would just enhance my ability to maybe travel and reach more people through the service of sound, light, and love.
Cool, cool. Okay, what's your presentation on today?
Well, I was going to talk about the three R's I call them, which are the three types of sound, and the nine core keys for using professional sound healing.
I'm sorry, you said core keys?
The core key principles of professional sound healing.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, I can't wait. Go ahead and begin.
Okay, well, to start with, before I talk about the nine core key principles, the three types of sound, or the three R's, I like to kind of explain for people because this relates to both the sound in and the sound out that we experience. In other words, the sounds we listen to, but also when we make sound, toning sounds and whatnot. It's the first R, first type of sound, many people think is healing sound, but it's really more preparatory. It's not necessarily healing sound, it's the relaxing sound. So the purpose of relaxing sound isn't so much to heal as it is to kind of prepare the way for healing and to calm and soothe the body. So if it's sound that we're listening to, we listen to relaxing sound, whether it's music or ocean waves or birds chirping, nature sounds, musical sounds, of course, are most commonly used by people. So when we listen to, in a musical sense, with legato sound, not necessarily little or no rhythm, flowing, softer volume, when we're talking about relaxing sound. So you have softer volume, more of a flow to it. And The purpose of relaxing sound is to calm and soothe the body. Okay, that's the first R. And a lot of people think if it's really beautiful, ambient, relaxing sound, that it's healing, but it's not a relaxing sound that's really going to heal a tumor or some kind of serious health issue, chronic health issue. It takes more aggressive and energetic types of sound to really address those kinds of issues, and they're not necessarily pleasant always to listen to. So that's kind of a misnomer, and people think the prettier a sound is, the more helpful or supportive or healing it's going to be. It's really not the case. It might be very useful and calming and soothing the body, but that's basically about it. And that takes us to the second R, the second type of sound, which is release sounds. Okay, now release sounds are quite different from relaxing sounds. Where relaxing sounds are to calm and soothe the body, the release sounds are to cleanse the body. And release sounds are the only type of sound that you want to implement volume in, because you want to release blocked energy and you want to move energy at a higher degree of movement, to release blockages from the body, release various things, just like we take a bath or a shower to cleanse the physical body. We want to cleanse the vibrational body and move energy when we need to release. Well, pain is the most obvious example. Sometimes there can be disease or something, whether it's an addiction or a tumor or something like that, that doesn't necessarily have pain. Sometimes it may, other times it may not. But, you know, in maybe the majority of circumstances, there's some pain involved. And that goes to emotional pain as well as physical pain. And so, again, a lot of people think release sounds are healing sounds. But again, they're preparatory in and of themselves. They're not what I would refer to as healing sounds. They're part of the healing process, but like the relaxing sounds that calm and soothe the body in preparation of healing, that's the same thing with release sounds. It cleanses the body and prepares for the optimal healing. And keep in mind, these two are very different from each other. And like release sounds are the only type of sounds where you need to implement volume in your practice of toning release work. So when you're making sound or you doing vocal toning, which is what I focus primarily on and specialize in, I don't use any external instruments. I mean, I started out 30 years ago using self-management auditory device, which was researched to be the most effective sound machine on the market, better than the Tesla coils or the Royal Rife generators and biorhythms and feedback and all these various hemisync, so many different kinds of electronic sounds, tone generators and sound machines. But in deep sound therapy research, they found that this self-management auditory device was the most effective. But I did some further research and found out the reason that that sound machine was so effective. And after I invested over $4,000 in this self-management auditory device, multimeters, subwoofer speakers, and the like, I found out the reason it was the most effective. It was the only sound device or machine that mimicked the frequency wave pattern of the human voice. See, these scientists knew from previous research that the most powerful sound on the planet is vocal harmonics and overtones. And they, since they weren't familiar with toning or knowing how to do that, you know, their tech brains taught them or motivated them to create a machine, a sound machine that created a complex waveform pattern, which is what the human voice holds. Now, most machines make sine waves. There's really no healing power in sine waves. And then some machines have been designed to make sawtooth waves and square waves, but they're not much better. But if you look at the human voice, which, as I said, was researched to be 4 times more effective than any sound machine and 3 times more effective than any acoustic instrument, like your crystal bowls and bells and gongs and didgeridoos and all those external instruments, which, you know, I moved eventually from the sound machines because of the inherent danger in them. I heard a few horror stories of people that got the wrong frequency that didn't match their personal frequency with a sound machine, and it exacerbated a chronic illness or disease that they had, and you know, made it worse. In some 1 or 2 cases, I even heard of someone passing away. Now, there's no strong evidence that it was the wrong sound that you know, made them pass away, but in one case, there were 2 people in an intensive care unit, and the sound saved the life of the one guy, but the other guy died the same night. And I don't believe too much in coincidence. And so it's possible, being in intensive care, he was in such a weak state, if he got the wrong sound that, you know, he had an excess of in his brainwave pattern, it could have pushed him over the edge. I don't know that that's a fact, but I know that it's true, and that it can happen. Whether it happened in that case, I think it's very likely that it could have, because he was in a weakened state in intensive care, and the sounds were introduced in this 2-bed ICU unit, and it saved the one guy because it gave him frequencies that he needed. But, you know, this and other reasons caused me to move my sound machine into storage after about the first 6 months of using it back 30 years ago. I didn't want to be responsible for harming anybody, no matter how much money I spent on that sound machine. And then the other reason was what I was just explaining. I learned that these scientists created this machine, and it was more effective than other machines because it was replicating the complex waveform. If you look at the human voice waveform pattern on an oscilloscope, like in a recording studio or in a controlled environment, you'll see the voice makes this complex waveform pattern. Looks kind of like a mountain range. It keeps going up and down at various lengths, and it keeps moving. And it's referred to as a complex wave form in a standing wave pattern. And so they replicated that in the machine and had a certain amount of success with it. But again, it was only about a third as effective as the human voice. So when I learned that my machine was just mimicking the voice and having a background as a professional singer for about 12 years, I decided to experiment with using the voice. And that was the biggest and perhaps best decision I ever made, because that guided my work for the next 30 years into exploring the harmonics and overtones of the human voice, because I was able to heal myself of a number of things: chronic knee pain, chronic kidney stones I had for 7 years. I healed almost immediately the first attack using vocal harmonics and overtones. And so I've been teaching this work worldwide now for 30 years. I've set up centers and toning groups in Europe and Asia, Tokyo, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Shanghai, in Europe, England, Italy, Bulgaria, and every major city in the United States. And most of my work is based upon both diagnostic and therapeutic sound therapy, which we'll get into shortly, some of the other details. But anyway, finishing up on this point of release sounds, that takes us to the third R, which is regenerative sounds. And regenerative sounds, the third R, are the real healing sounds. You're going to use a combination of, relaxing sounds and release sounds as needed. But ultimately, we get to the regenerative sounds that are defined in two ways. Firstly, vocal harmonics and overtones, as I mentioned a minute ago, that they've been researched to have the most profound effect on the human body. Again, 30 years ago, when I was privy to this research, where they monitored people with the criteria used to monitor their bodies with this test group of people, was first of all, fluctuations in blood pressure. They looked at blood pressure changes. Secondly, oxygen saturation in the body. And thirdly, using an electroencephalogram to monitor brainwave patterns. And basically, through those three criteria, they introduced every conceivable kind of sound to people, from nature sounds, industrial sounds, environmental sounds, musical sounds of various multitude of musical instruments. Every conceivable kind of sound was introduced to the body in this test group of people to see what sound had the most profound effect on the body. And at the end of the study, it was very clear there wasn't anything that even came close to the multiples, harmonics, and overtones that it can be created by the human voice. So that's why my first of 12 albums was called The Ultimate Healing Instrument, the Human Voice, because it's sitting right under our nose and it's free. So we can eliminate the middleman. For a while, I worked, with some didgeridoos and bowls and bells and gongs and tuning forks and things of that nature. I rarely use them anymore. I mean, I might occasionally use them, like if we're doing a drum circle or a toning group or a different, different exercises and things with sound. Might use a particular instrument or shaker or something for a particular result. But, I'd say it's about 5% of my work. 95% of what I do focuses on the ultimate healing instrument, the human voice. There is nothing more powerful than that. And only the human voice within our body is connected to spirit. None of the external instruments are directly connected to spirit. And, and with the human voice, not only is it sitting right under our nose, but it's free. You don't have to pay for it like you invest in an instrument and these other things, which can be fun. You know, I mean, I don't have any objections. I have 4 didgeridoos and bells and forks and bowls and a lot of things, but I just, rarely use them anymore because the voice, like I said, is 4 times more effective than any sound machine and 3 times more effective than any of these external instruments. So I look at it as, why should I waste my time with the external instruments that are only a third as effective when I can use the voice? And that's what I've put my years of research and practice into the human voice and the utilization of the 3 R's. As I said, just reviewing, the first R is relaxing sound to calm and soothe the body. The second R is release sounds, where the only kind of sound that you would implement some volume to help move the energy, to release blockages, and to cleanse the body with release sounds. And then the third R, and most important and most misunderstood, perhaps, and maybe even ambiguous, is the regenerative sound of vocal harmonics and overtones. So in completing this definition, let me also mention the second aspect of regenerative sound. As I mentioned earlier, there are 2 important components to regenerative sound. The first, of course, is the ability to create vocal harmonics and overtones. And I'm going to be doing a workshop here next month or so on the secrets to vocal harmonics and overtoning. I also have my weekly webinar, you can find on my website, wayneperry.com/events. You go to the events page on my website, you'll find my weekly classes, 3-hour workshops, and it's a certification training as well. You can drop in and do 1 or 2 classes. They're at half price instead of the normal $75 I charge for a 3-hour workshop. It's half price. It's only $38. So it's a great deal for anybody who's serious about learning sound healing professionally. And so there's 10 different topics that repeat, keep changing and repeating. I've been doing this for 1.5 years on Zoom. So check out the events page at wayneperry.com, and you can see the 10 topics and brief descriptions of all the work. And if you do all 10 classes, you'll get a certification in sound healing. So anyway, so the last component, the second component of regenerative sound, of course, it has to do with the diagnostic aspects of sound therapy. The first component, like I said, is the vocal harmonics and overtones, learning how to do that. I teach that privately and in classes. It's also in my book, Sound Medicine. I have audio downloads and CDs, so it's easily available on my website at wayneperry.com with lots of information. There's a wealth of information on my website. But the second component to regenerative sound is applying sound directly to your personal frequency. And we discover your personal frequency with a diagnostic brain voice sound analysis. And I've been doing that for, 30 years as well, because you have to identify a person's personal frequency before you can apply the appropriate sound medicine, the appropriate therapeutic process. You have to have a proper diagnostic process. And I noticed in my travels worldwide over the years that most of the so-called sound healers don't do diagnostics, which it's hard for me to understand. It's just like they're throwing something against the wall to see what sticks, and then whatever sticks they follow up on. I mean, that's not, in my view, professional sound healing. That's kind of a hit and miss approach, and they're just, throwing stuff out there and trying to follow what seems to work. But the appropriate and professional way of doing sound healing, sound therapy, vibrational healing is with a diagnostic brain voice sound analysis. And so I spend a good 90 minutes, sometimes even 2 hours, doing a proper diagnostic sound analysis. I also include in that process a consultation, a chart that I do by hand, a personal sound chart. I interpret the chart for them. I can tell a person where they're strong or where they're weak physically, emotionally, and vibrationally through the analysis. I answer the questions that they have, And then I give them kind of a sonic prescription of what I would recommend in terms of the therapy, because it's like a self therapy that you can do that I teach people to do for themselves, and it's very inexpensive. You've got a lot of healing modalities out there that can cost thousands of dollars. But one of the reasons I'm so passionate about sound therapy is because not only is it easy to learn if you practice the principles and exercises, it's very inexpensive. I mean, other than a diagnostic sound analysis, which some scientists and doctors that do it can charge up to $300 to $500 for it. I only charge $185. I've only raised my price $10 from $175 when I started, to keep it affordable for people to really be able to learn and use the power of sound therapy properly. And so, and then towards the end of that session, after I give people a very specific, you could say, sonic prescription in terms of how many minutes to do the brainwave entrainment, which is the sound in, and how many minutes to do the toning release work, which is the sound out, is very important. And so that's the essence of sound therapy, as I view it. Is it's very much like food. I use a lot of analogies and examples when I teach people various exercises and principles, like the principle of entrainment that relates to the sound in. And food is the same way. You can eat the healthiest food, organic fruits and vegetables, and really great food. But if you don't eliminate that food, guess what? You're going to die. And conversely, you can have the best digestion and elimination in the world, but if you don't eat, you're going to die. So when we look at food, of course, it's important to eat healthy food and have healthy elimination. And that's optimally the way we would use food for our optimal health. Well, it's similar with sound. You want to have healthy sound going in, and also a healthy mechanism to release sound going out. And so the sound in is used by entrainment, which is one of the 9 core key principles to professional sound healing, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes. But when you understand entrainment, the definition of entrainment doesn't really help us that much. I've inquired, most people don't understand what entrainment is. Few people do, but as I travel the world and I check in with people, I found the majority of people don't understand entrainment or brainwave entrainment. And the definition of brainwave entrainment doesn't really help us that much. It's like mutual phase locking of brainwave patterns. That's what the definition of it would be. But that doesn't really tell us much about what it is. So again, I use examples and metaphors. So a good example that would be music. When we listen to music repeatedly, it sticks in our mind. Like, we remember these childhood songs from our childhood, like Old MacDonald Had a Farm, or Frère Jacques, Dormez-vous, which isn't even an American song, it's a French song. But, we remember these songs because we've heard them hundreds of times. They don't disappear, they don't go away. They're stored in our brainwave patterns. And so in our brainwave patterns, we want to put a strongly needed sound into the brain with entrainment. So when we listen to vocal harmonics and overtones in the exact pitch, frequency, key that you need, that the diagnostic sound analysis reveals is personal to you, because no two people are alike. Everybody has their own unique personal matrix of frequencies that's unique to them. And so when we apply those sounds to the person's weak areas where they're weak in frequency, then we give them those pitches and frequencies with vocal harmonics and overtones. And the repetition is what entrainment is all about. You can listen, and the beauty of it too is that it doesn't interrupt your day. So if you have, let's say, 20 minutes of entrainment work to do, as kind of prescribed by your sound therapist, you can do other things while you're listening to those harmonics on a daily basis. And it should be on a daily basis, because the repetition of it is what really helps. So when you listen to those sounds, it's a few minutes every day. If you have a few pitches or a few frequencies you listen to, and it adds up to, let's say, 20 minutes, like the example I gave. You don't have to stop what you're doing like other exercises or healing modalities other than sound that do take up a certain amount of time. And we're all busy people. Nobody needs 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour added to their busy day. So one of the wonderful things about sound therapy is you can listen to your tones for your entrainment, which is the sound in, healthy healing vocal harmonics and overtones. And when you have that coming in every day, you can be doing other things. You can listen while you're on the computer. You can listen while you're having lunch or getting dressed or even driving in your car. As long as you have something to listen on, you can listen to your tones, driving to work or wherever you have to go. So it doesn't take up any time. It's really beautiful that you can adjust your day and have your sound in, your brainwave entrainment. And that's the first half of the sound therapy, is the sound in to support any frequencies that are weak. And the other half of the sound therapy is the sound out. And that's where our vocal toning comes in. And so I have 48 exercises in my book, Sound Medicine. I teach them privately. I teach them on Zoom, over the phone. I have recordings. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to share this important information. But it's basically, you want to release sound. That's where those release sounds come in. The regenerative sound comes in with the entrainment, and that's really important. But you also have to release blocked energy with what I call VVB. VVB stands for vowels, volume, and breath. So you use your vowel sounds with a little volume in there and support it with the pranic energy of diaphragmatic breathing. And then you have your little release toning. And that you don't necessarily have to do every day. If you're a fanatic like I am and some of the sound healing people, you can do it every day. But this does take a little time. It does take a lot of time. It's basically, I'd say, a 15 to 20 minute exercise. So if you do it twice a week, it's usually effective. You can do it like maybe on a weekday or evening, and then on the weekend, twice a week. You can certainly do it more than that, but I think the minimum for doing the release work would be twice a week. So that's the little overview of sound therapy. And the underlying principle of that, by the way, that you should remember or write down, is that the form and density of all matter is determined by its frequency. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's very important. The form and density of all matter, including the human body, is determined by its frequency. So everything has its own frequency, and many of those frequencies are below the hearing range. Some of them are above the hearing range. But many of them is within our hearing range. But the important thing to understand is there's no such thing as solid matter. We learned in school that our teachers told us, I think we all got the same program at one time or another in our life, when our teacher said, boys and girls, do you know your bodies are about 70% water and 30% solids, just like Mother Earth? And we listen and we know, that the earth is primarily water, and to find our bodies are just like the earth. It kind of made sense. We accepted it. And it's basically true on one level. We are primarily water. But what their teachers maybe didn't know at the time, that the new physics has revealed, is, first of all, there's no such thing as solid matter. Everything is in a state of energy and a state of movement, and has waveform patterns and vibrational energy to it. Nothing. Some matter is very low frequency, very slow frequency, and even below the hearing range, particularly like inanimate objects. But organic material, plants, animals, human beings, everything has its own unique frequency. Now, it's difficult to do a sound analysis of a plant or an animal. You'd have to have special microphones around the body and inserted kind of invasively within the body of an animal, and it would be quite involved and expensive. But with the human body, we make sound with the human voice, and through the human voice, and a microphone and a way of looking at the note frequencies and the octaves that are in the brainwave pattern coming through the voice, being generated at the source in the brain, we can easily see the frequencies that are active within any human being and do an effective diagnostic brain voice sound analysis to determine that. So that, is the essence of sound therapy. Understanding the sound in the world is not generally very healthy. Most sounds, like the music we listen to on the radio, is like corporate pop, corporate rock, corporate R&B, and all this. It's dead. It's computer generated and digitally marketed, and so it's hard to get really healthy organic sound. You've got nature sounds, of course, that are healthy, but to seek out harmonics and overtones, it gives quite a boon to your health, particularly if you know what frequencies. If you had some type of diagnostic sound analysis, you know where to go. And so that's the sound in. And then vocal toning is very important. It's very healthy. I mean, we know even singing is healthy, but toning is moving energy with the human voice using primarily vowel sounds, but not limited to vowel sounds. And it's more of a release. And we do it every day anyway. When we moan, we groan, we sigh, these kinds of things. We don't call it toning, but it fits my definition of toning, that we're making these sounds, spontaneously and unconsciously. And it's very helpful to, release those sounds. Like the two biggies are probably laughing and crying are the two natural ways of releasing energy and sound. And we always feel good after we have a good laugh, and even after a good cry, though it might be painful or sad, we feel good afterwards because there's a release that takes place. So that's same way that we work with sound therapy, is understanding sound in and sound out and how to manage it with the most effective sounds. And then just reviewing those 3 R's, the relaxing sounds, calm and soothe the body, and have a preliminary place in the process. And then your release sounds cleanse the body and are important to release blockages. And, and then thirdly, the regenerative sounds, the truly healing sounds of vocal harmonics and overtones, and then taking the sounds that fit for your diagnostic sound analysis to make those regenerative. Once you identify which frequencies are weak in the body and in the brainwave pattern, then you can use those specific sounds in a regenerative manner. So there's 2 components of regenerative sound. The first being the vocal harmonics and overtones that are extremely powerful and interdimensional. And then you use those pitches and frequencies that your diagnostic sound analysis reveals are the most effective and important for you and for your health. So that's the secret to regenerative sound, is understanding those 2 components, is getting the sound that fits your personal frequency pattern, and then using vocal harmonics and overtones to effect the desired result. Okay, so that's a little overview of sound therapy and the way that I've been practicing it for 30 years, focusing on the human voice and the 3 R's that are important to understand, sound in and sound out. I mean, even sound in, we didn't talk too much about, and I don't want to spend much time with it. But one example I'll give you, we go into a gym, let's say we've all kind of worked out at a gym at one time or another, probably, whether temporarily or whatever. You go into a gym to work out, you don't hear like soft, relaxing music, Yanni or George Winston solo piano or guitar or anything like that. You hear like moving music, dum, dum, dum. Another one bites the dust. You hear rock music, dance music, EDM. You hear aggressive music because that's conducive to releasing. And you're working out at the gym, you're releasing endorphins, releasing sweat, releasing energy. It's a process. And that's why you hear some loud music in the gym, because it fits. Like with our release work, we're using VVB, vowels, volume, and breath, to release. But we also have to consider the sound in. And sometimes aggressive music can help support our release of the necessary release sounds that we make with the voice. It can be supported with a little more aggressive music, where softer music, quieter music, gentler music can support relaxing sound. It's pretty logical. Anyway, I just wanted to make that comment to just point out the differentiation between relaxing sounds and releasing sounds. And of course, the most important, the regenerative sounds of specific vocals and harmonics to your specific needs. Okay, so that's the 3 R's. Now let's get to the 10 steps or principles to sound healing. And these are very simple steps, but they're important to implement all of them to be successful in your sound healing journey. And the first one is to do with the most important thing that you have. If you think about your nature and your ability, your consciousness, what do you think is the most powerful and most effective thing that you have, or part of your nature? What is the strongest, most important thing that you have? Well, when I do a workshop with people, I get their suggestions and ideas from people and to throw things out. And unless they've read my book, Sound Medicine, they usually guess wrong, or don't get the answer that I'm looking for, that I believe is the most important thing that you possess. And so I'm going to just share it with you now. And again, in the interest of time, and because we don't have a responding immediate audience here at hand. So what I believe is the most important thing that you have. And I've done this in cities all over the world, and I put it out to people. And I remember, I think it was in Chicago at the massage school that I was teaching this work, and some lady in the back raised her hand and said the most important thing she had was her grandmother's wedding ring or something. So it was funny. It brought a laughing response from the group. But obviously, I'm not talking about a physical thing. What I'm talking about specifically is your attention. And I can qualify that as focused attention. If you think about it, you can understand why it's the most important thing that you have. Even before love, consciousness, breath. I mean, these are the kind of responses I get to that question. That's important. Your breath, your voice is important. Your consciousness is important. The capacity to love, your soul. I mean, all these things are good. There's no wrong answers. These are all important things that we have. So all those answers, are appropriate. But what actually comes first is your attention, because you have to put your attention into love in order to activate it. You have to put attention into spirit or your meditation in order to move into that energy or to raise your consciousness. So whatever you're doing, you have to put your focused attention into it. If you're a parent, for instance, like I am, I have a daughter, she's grown now, but, if you have kids, they need your attention more than anything else. They need your, attention. And likewise, I mean, when our parents get old, they need our attention. So, we can look at it in a personal and family sense of those that need our attention. And then we can look at it in the personal sense, the business sense, any way that you want to look at it. I mean, here in Los Angeles, where I live, you can't drive down Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard without seeing billboards everywhere for movies or for TV shows or for products or for deodorant or whatever it is. They're trying to get your attention. And if you look at it, you can't turn on the TV or the radio without ads trying to get your attention to buy a particular product, because they know, marketing people know, they need to get your attention in order to sell their products to make any money. So your attention is very valuable, and you should value it and monitor who you give your attention to. So this is very important and significant. So, and you just look at your own life and see who's that, demanding your attention. If you have a job, obviously your boss needs your attention for the work at hand, and so you can keep looking. You're in school, you have to give your attention to the teacher. Even for leisure activities, if we go to a concert, we give our attention to the musicians or singers, whoever's performing. We go to a play or a movie, they get our attention. So everything revolves around our conscious attention. So this is why I put a focused attention as number one in the process of understanding these 9 core key principles to sound healing, which are also in my book, Sound Medicine. But in any case, it used to be number 2. As we moved to number 2 in these 9 key principles, number 2 used to be number 1. And let me explain why I moved it to number 2. Number 2 now is prayer and invocation. Now, this was number one because I believe in putting source and spirit first. I believe all healing comes from source, spirit, God, whatever word you want to use. And we are just vehicles, conduits for this energy to flow through. If we can align ourselves and be in service to spirit so that energy can flow through this and we can be supportive of other people, for our students, clients, whatever, whomever. And so for that reason, I always put God, source, and spirit first in my life before anything that I do, including sound therapy. And it took me a couple of years of being really in the left brain, using the sound machines and the diagnostic sound analysis and all these specifics to be sure I'm giving people the best service. But after around 2 years, I think I had somebody on my healing table, and I felt the sound, wanted to go elsewhere, digress from where I was used to, sending it according to their sound analysis. And although it was still good, I found a much better way by kind of surrendering to the sound, because sound always goes where it's needed. Once you understand sound and trust it, it'll guide you, it'll lead you. And when I kind of surrendered to spirit and surrendered to sound, it just has guided me ever since to just work, not have to work from my ego or personality, but just work from spirit and be guided in that way. And that was a great, probably one of the biggest boons in my sound healing career, when I learned that lesson to let go of all this left brain control stuff that I had going on, and just trust in the sound and trust in spirit. So it's a lesson that I encourage you to embrace and to learn. And maybe you've learned it already, maybe learned it even before I did, because it took me a while to get that place to really accept and surrender to that. But anyway, so number 2 is prayer and invocation. And it was number 1 because, like I said, I always put source first. But then I realized you have to put your attention into source. It just doesn't magically occur. I mean, it's always magically there, but in order to connect with it, we have to put our attention into it. And so that's why I shifted these, I don't know, over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I first wrote these principles, and before I put them into my sound medicine book, I switched it to make prayer and invocation second, and the focused attention first. So those are the first 2 core keys. Now, I'd like to digress. Hopefully we'll have time to do this. I'd like to take you on a little journey in sound and a little sonic meditation. I always do a sonic meditation in every workshop I do. Sometimes I even do 2 sonic meditations. So if you'd like to take this little journey with me, we're going to do the sound invocation, which is something that I wrote, is in my book and my recordings, and we use in all my classes and teachings. And then you go through the sound invocation into a meditation, a sonic meditation or toning meditation. So this, may take 10 or 12 minutes, something like that. And then we'll complete the remaining 7 principles to sound, keys to sound healing. So I want to ask you to sit up straight with your back reasonably straight, your feet flat on the floor. Unless you're comfortable in a full lotus position, you can sit in a full lotus. Otherwise, don't cross your legs or your ankles. Just keep your feet planted flat on the floor. Close your eyes. Take some deep diaphragmatic breaths. And please join me in spirit as I invoke and evoke the divine loving consciousness of the infinite spirit within. Father, Mother, God, infinite intelligence, divine love and wisdom, as a clear and open channel with sound, light, and love as my guides. Ask that the sound of light now uplift us. May the light of sound now guide and direct us. May the love of spirit embrace and protect us. And finally, may the sound of our souls now resonate through us for the healing and harmony of all. So from this sacred space that we co-create, let us focus in the center of the sternum, the center of the chest, at the heart chakra space, with our eyes closed, and breathe into that heart center in the center of the sternum. And imagine a beautiful green light emanating from that fourth chakra, the heart chakra. That rules our loving, compassionate energy, our caring for others, and our healing energy is sourced in the fourth chakra that comes from source and love, sound, light, and love. The center point of the chakras and the heart center, the heart chakra. And as you concentrate on that center, see that green light expand, begin to fill your whole body, moving down your arms, down through your elbows and forearms and wrists and hands and fingers, moving down through the trunk of your body, down through the abdomen, solar plexus. See that green light expanding, filling the intestines, the colon, the groin, your sexual organs, moving down through the thighs and knees, calves, ankles, feet, toes. Wiggle your toes a little bit and feel this energy as it fills your whole body with this healing green light. And moving up, filling our head, face with this green light, coming out the crown of our head like a beautiful fountain of green light cascading down, caressing our whole body with this healing green glow. So feel this loving energy and warmth of the love of the heart chakra, and we're going to make a toning sound vowel together with the intention of releasing any obstructions to our loving energy, any obstructions and distractions to our love, to our healing. We're going to release, and we release it. Imagine a violet flame in the room, maybe 3 to 6 feet in front of you, spiraling up towards up towards the ceiling. And anything that you have to release with your toning, release it responsibly into that violet flame to be transmuted to a higher frequency. Don't release it into your body or your neighbor or anybody else in the room, your pet. Release it specifically into the violet flame so it can be transmuted. So think or feel anything that might be in the way of your loving energy, the expression of your compassion and caring and your healing energy. And we're going to release any potential distractions and blockages to your heart and healing energy together. So at the count of 3, we're going to make the ah sound, A-H, ah, as in mirage or amen, the ah sound. And we're going to do that 3 times, the ah sound, to disperse any energy that could be blocking our heart energy. So please join me at the count of 3 with the ah sound. We'll do it 3 extended ah sounds, and then we'll have a brief moment of silence and then continue. 1, 2, 3. Just listen. Feel the energy. And now gently and slowly move your attention from the heart center, slowly moving up the sternum and up the chest, moving up like cream rises to the top of milk, up past your collarbone to the throat center, and focus your attention now on the throat chakra. In the center of the throat, imagine a beautiful blue light emanating from the center of your throat. With your eyes closed, breathe into that blue light, the fifth chakra that rules our communication, our creativity, what we see and hear, and our creative self-expression that the fifth chakra rules. So breathe into that blue light, and once again, see that blue light expand through your whole body. See it moving through your bloodstream, reaching all the organs and muscles and parts of your body to send its healing blue light and energy to. So see that blue light filling your body, moving through all the arteries of your body, moving through all the arteries and blood vessels and capillaries, returning to your heart through the veins and continuing the process, moving through all the blood vessels through every part of your body, filling your arms and legs and trunk and abdomen, face and head, this beautiful blue light. And keep breathing into that blue light with a loving intention to fill your body with this healing blue light until it's coming out the crown of your head once again like a beautiful blue fountain cascading down, caressing your whole body with its healing blue glow. And so from this sacred space we've co-created together, once again, we're going to utter another toning sound from the throat chakra to release, with the intention of releasing any obstructions to our communication. If there's anybody in your life that you need to clear energy with to communicate your truth, your feelings, your beingness, we want to remove any distractions and obstructions to your creativity and your communication and self-expression. So we're going to do that now again with a different vowel. This time we're going to use the A vowel, as in say, play, way. And we're going to use that A sound to tone again 3 times with this intention of releasing any blockages to our communication with anybody in our life, socially or in business, or personally, whatever level, so that we can have a completely strengthened and open fifth chakra. Let us, at the count of 3, utter the A sound for 3 full breaths, and then a brief moment of silence to follow. 1, 2, 3. Once again, listen, feel the energy. And now allow your attention to rise one more time from the throat area, moving up past your chin, and your throat chamber and oral chamber, nasal chambers, and let your attention settle just above and behind the physical eyes at what's known as the third eye center. The sixth chakra, where the pituitary and the pineal gland lie. It's the 10th portal in the body, known by some as the 10th door. The other 9 doors, the attention goes out into the ephemeral world. We have the 7 apertures within the head and face, the 2 lower apertures of the body, making 9 apertures or outlets that flow out into the world, connected through the senses. But the 10th aperture, the 10th door, as it's known, at the third eye center, is the one portal that leads us inward and upward, that doesn't take us down and out into the ephemeral world, but it takes us into the inner reality, known in Sanskrit as Tisratil, the 10th door, the third eye, Tisratil. Let us focus on this magical portal above and behind the physical eyes. And imagine a beautiful purple or violet light emanating from that center. And once again, see that purple or violet light fill your whole head, your neck, your chest, arms and legs, filling your whole body, filling all the organs, bones, muscles, nerves, tissues, every aspect of your body, filling with this beautiful violet light. As this chakra manages our higher and natural knowing, our higher intuition, a higher aspiration to who we really are on the highest spiritual level as infinite beings. So let us focus at this third eye center for this last part of our toning meditation. And this time we're just going to tone freely for 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, till we feel intuitively complete. And if you know how to make vocal harmonics and overtones, by all means, use them, share them, make them. If not, you can listen to my harmonics and overtones and join me. And so we're just going to do this for a couple of minutes to complete the meditation. We'll have a moment of silence after we complete the harmonics. The harmonics open portals and helixes within the body to access other dimensions, healing on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, causally, and spiritually, and astrally, all these levels. So embrace this violet light as it fills your whole body, coming up the crown of your head like a beautiful violet fountain, cascading down and caressing your whole body in its beautiful violet glow. And now we want to release any obstructions to our intuition, to our natural knowing, that we know intuitively within what's right and true and honest and uplifting and pure. As we connect to that and allow it to guide our life and to remove any distractions, dilutions, or obstructions to this natural, pure way of living in spirit, living in sound, light, and love and spirit. So once again, at the count of 3, please join me, and we'll join together with that intention to free ourselves from any downward pull of this ephemeral world and dimension, and to move into deeper, higher inner dimensions of sound, light, and love. 1, 2, 3. And listen to the sound in the silence. Listen to the silence in the sound. Listen with resonance, never resistance. For what you resist persists. And what do you hear? Perhaps you hear in the distance people talking or walking about their day, driving. A lot of sounds in the outer world. We don't resist, we resonate with all sound. Of course, choosing the sounds we prefer to bathe ourselves in, to listen to create, but always resonating with our environment, always in harmony. Listen to your body, totally devoted to your soul and to your essence, always there for you. Let us feel some appreciation from the body. Listen to its rhythms, the pulse, the heartbeat, the regular rhythms of life, the rhythm of our talking, the rhythm of our walking, the rhythm of our movement. Everything moves in the appropriate rhythm it's designed for. So what is your body saying to you right now as you listen to your gut, your intuition, your physical, your emotional? Always stay tuned in. Your body will always reveal things to you. So we need to bring this meditation to the close so we can finish up the remaining key principles. Always ground yourself after any meditation so you can be fully grounded and functional to meet your responsibilities of your work or your family or your school or whomever. So we do that very simply in a few seconds by sighing into a high E sound, the E vowel, right at that third eye center or the crown of the head. Focus at the upper chakras and sigh into a E at the top of your voice, in your head voice, falsetto voice. Just sigh into a high E and ride the pitch down as you release the oxygen from your lungs. Ride the pitch deeper, deeper, lower and lower and lower until you exhale and release all the oxygen from your lungs as you reach the lowest pitch of your voice at the first chakra point. And then you can open your eyes, take a fresh breath, stretch a little bit, and feel energized, yet relaxed, integrated, enlightened, empowered, illuminated. So at the count of 3, please join me at the high E and ride the pitch down, releasing your breath till you get down to the first chakra to complete this meditation. 1, 2, 3.
You can do it.
Yes, feels good. So how do you feel? Hopefully you feel renewed, regenerated, yet grounded, focused, and relaxed at the same time. You feel energized. Okay, we're running out of time here, so let's continue with the remaining 9 core keys. We're not going to add any more exercises in the interest of time. I want to bring this to the close, but I want to emphasize the importance of these key principles. And if you notice, I used all of these 9 keys during this meditation. We started with focused attention was number 1. I've helped you to focus your attention on particular chakra points, colors, sounds, whatever. The second key principle to sound healing is prayer and invocation. We did the sound invocation, which is my book, Sound Medicine, is my gift to you. You're welcome to use it if you wrote it down or you recorded it, whatever. Or you can create your own if you like. But it's important to always have some kind of sound invocation, to always ask for protection before you go within and ask for protection and guidance. And it's there for you. Spirit is always there for us if we open our hearts. Okay, the third component and principle of sound healing is conscious breathing. We know to breathe properly, there's relaxing breath exercises, there's extended breath. I do a variety of different breathing exercises we don't really have time to get into now, but it's very important to be breathing consciously. That's the prana, life force energy. It's very important. So the fourth key principle is inner listening. Now, inner listening is slightly different. You know, we have the 2 components we're familiar with. Hearing, which is more whole-brained or multidimensional. We hear things in the distance and close by. We're maybe listening to somebody speak, but we can be aware of other sounds in the background. You know, when we were thinking back to when we were cavemen and cave women, it was a safety. You know, we have to be aware of warring tribes, wild animals, all sorts of things. So hearing, we hear a lot of things. We might not hear everything perfectly, but it's a wide range of perceiving sound through hearing. The second component of processing sound is listening. When we concentrate our attention, again, our focused attention is focused on a particular sound, a particular instrument, a particular person's voice, whatever it is that we're listening to. Now that's a more of a left brain process. So we moved from a whole brain process of hearing to a left brain process of focusing on the sound so we can glean more information, entertainment, whatever we're listening for, it's more concentrated. And the downside is we become less aware of other things, traffic, other people, because we're concentrating our attention with the left brain on listening to a particular, production, piece of music, speech, whatever it might be. We're focusing on that, but it's a left brain process. Now, inner listening, the third component, is the right brain process. We have the whole brain and the left brain process. Inner listening involves listening on a more intuitive level, listening with the gut that we were just talking about, listening with your intuition, listening as if the pores in your skin were like microphones picking up on the energy around you. It's an inner process. It's listening to your emotions. It's listening to your inner body. It's listening to your higher awareness. And so this tunes in to a higher part of an awareness. And when you listen to that, then you listen to what you want to release, transform, or heal. And you can get inside of it. And what does it sound like? And you match the sound with it and do your toning release work or whatever you need to do. If you're doing your regenerative work, you want to use your inner listening to tune in to the important sounds that whether they need to be released or entrained. That's what we use our inner listening for. And that's the fourth principle. The fifth principle is now visualization. Same similar process, but instead of using our inner ears and listening to the sound within, we're using the visualization, inner visualization. So when we're within our meditation, we're visualizing, we go deep. Sometimes we can access sacred geometry, vivid colors, white light. There's tremendous white light. They say in the East that there's the light within the body of 16 suns. That's literal, 16 suns. We can't even look at one sun without possible damage to the retina of our eye. We need filters, sunglasses, something. If looking at the sun, it's not the most healthy thing to do because it's very brilliant. Well, there's the light. If you magnify that 16 times, according to Sanskrit teachings, that's the kind of light that exists within the body that we will access when we're ready for it. And it's the same thing with sound and inner listening. There's tremendous vibrant sound within the human body, but you're not going to hear the depth of that sound or see the depth of that light until the soul is strong enough. That's why it's important to do these sound practices and meditation practices to get to a point of strength that you can go deeper within consciousness to be able to have the strength to perceive that kind of sound and light within the body. Okay, so that's the essence of the visualization. Now, number 6, the sixth of the 9 core keys is entrainment. And that we kind of discussed earlier. It's the sound in. It's based on repetition. So it's a very important principle in sound healing practices and sound therapy, is once we identify the correct and appropriate sound diagnostically, we use and listen to entrain with repetitive patterns. With repetition, we build a groove in the brainwave pattern and are able to put back healthy frequencies, strengthen the frequencies that are there, replace and restore any that are missing or weak. So that's the vital importance of brainwave entrainment. There's general entrainment and specific brainwave entrainment. We don't have the time to get into the specifics of that, but we can always cover it at a later date. If you're interested in it, I can cover any of these topics in great detail if you like. So that's number 6, very important entrainment. Number 7 is having a clear intention. Now, we don't need to say much about that. I've been hearing about intention for 30 years that I've been doing this work. Deepak Chopra has talked a lot about it. Dr. Wayne Dyer talked a lot about it. Many, many, many healers and guides and knowledgeable people in healing and metaphysics know about the power of intention. You have to have a clear and specific intent on what you want to heal. And as I mentioned, I used all of these 9 core keys during our meditation a few minutes ago. And with the intention of opening up specific chakras, we work with 3 chakras, specific intention about releasing any blockages to those chakras, to activating them fully, and on and on. So we don't need to spend much time, any more time with the power of intention. It's a necessary ingredient to the healing process. Number 8, I would tend to focus on more. It doesn't get as much attention as intention, but it's just as important, if not more important, and that's commitment. The 8th principle is commitment, being committed to your work, your process, to yourself, commitment to your toning, commitment to your meditation, commitment to your clients or students if you have them. The more we're committed. I wrote a piece for Yoga Magazine some time ago about mastering healing. And the first part of it, I say that your life is a healing process, and your healing will be successful in direct proportion to the agreements and commitments that you make and keep, both with yourself and with others. This is very important, to honor your commitments and to be in character and integrity with yourself. There's more to what I wrote to that article, but I don't know that we have time to share that now. Again, you can access a lot of this material I'm talking about on my website at wayneperry.com. There's a wealth of information there. But we need to move on to the last step or principle to professional sound healing, which of course is love. And that's very powerful. In my book, it has its own chapter. Instead of putting the 9 core principles to sound healing in one chapter, it's actually 8 principles. And when I started writing about love, there was so much to write about. Some of my favorite quotes from texts from all sorts of sources, including the Bible. It just deserved its own chapter. So the chapter on love, the 9th principle, is all about the different aspects of love, from agape love, maternal love, romantic love, every type of love, to understand the spiritual depth that love is, because God is love. And it's as simple as that. And so in closing this, I like to say, I always leave my workshops and end them, instead of saying the common phrase, I love you. If we put God first, and God is love, I like to say, love you, I. So we put God first, we put the beloved second, we put ourselves last. So my students are familiar with this, and we share with each other regularly, love you, I. So I share that with you and encourage you to share it with your loved ones. So thank you for your attention to this presentation. Hopefully I'm not over time. I'm trying to guess the number of minutes to try to get into this presentation. I think David's going to join us here.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Thank you. I love the meditation. So I got a question. So as far as the assessment you do on the voice, you mentioned brain waves. Are you actually doing brainwave assessment, or just doing the voice?
No, I was mentioning brainwave in terms of entrainment, brainwave patterns. What the analysis is, I call it a diagnostic brain voice sound analysis, because we're accessing the brain, what's going on in the brain, through the voice.
Okay, so it's voice. Okay, cool. So are you looking for the home note of the key that someone sings in when they speak?
No, not necessarily. We can identify that, but that's not as of importance as the frequencies that are weak and the frequencies that are excessive. Those are the 2 important. There's like 3 categories. The first one is the healthy frequencies. We don't need to concern ourselves with those. Those are where they should be. So the second thing I'm looking at is the weak frequencies that are weakened or missing in the voice of the brainwave pattern, that can be supported with brainwave entrainment. And then the third and last thing I'm looking for is the excessive sounds, because some people aren't aware that disease and imbalance and illness can come from excessive sound just as easily it comes from weak sound. Some people think it's just weak or missing frequencies that cause illness, but it's either or. It could come from weak and missing sounds, but it can also come from backed up or excessive sounds. So we identify the sounds that are excessive in the brainwave pattern, and those are the most helpful to release when you do vocal toning release work, is to key in on those pitches and keys. And so I have harmonic recordings that took me about 2 years to create, all analog recorded with the optimal vocal harmonics and overtones in every key. And it was, a nightmare editing them analog and splicing tape together. And like I said, it took about 2 years and was quite a lengthy and expensive process. But, I have all those recordings in all keys that people can use to get the pitch if they're not musical, they don't have a musical instrument, but they seem to work much better than musical instruments. We tried years ago, 25, 30 years ago, doing it with musical instruments to effect release, and it just didn't have the same kind of release as the vocal toning
Cool.
with VVB, vowels, volume, and breath.
Cool. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for your presentation and your work you do. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. It's a pleasure working with you, and hopefully the lovely people that are tuning in, and be nice to have active participation, but you're welcome to call me with any questions. I don't take my phone number off my website or my email like some people do. I try to be accessible to answer questions for people, and I get over 100 emails a day, and I don't even have time to respond to all the emails, but you can shoot me a call at the number on my website, and I'm happy to answer any questions. It's just wayneperry.com.
Okay.
And if I can put in a quick plug for my book, this is Sound Medicine, that has 48 exercises in the book. You can get that on my website as well. And that's the essence of my work is included in Sound Medicine. All the principles and exercises and things I teach come from the book Sound Medicine. So
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you much. I'm going to play the closing video now. And take care.
all right, thanks, David.
Bye.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Visit newearth1.com.